What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another week of the Sports Degenerates podcast. You guys know what comes next. If this is your first time listening to us, make sure to also listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Spreaker. We're also on Twitter at the Sports Degens and Instagram at Sports Degenerates Podcast. And make sure to be watching us too on YouTube if you can, guys. And if you can, make sure to follow us on all these platforms: Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all that kind of stuff. And make sure to like this episode on any platform that you're listening to, because it helps us out a lot. It helps us expand the podcast. I know we've had a few weeks that we've been on and off. We've just been kind of getting used to this whole technical side of things, being in this new studio. So make sure to please help support us. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you dislike. All that kind of fun stuff. But you guys know us. We're just a couple of college students. We love talking about sports, watching sports, listening to sports, everything to do with sports. So we decided what better way to show our love for sports than make a podcast about it. And here we are. Matt, how you doing?
Here we are. I'm doing good, man. Yourself?
Not doing too bad. So I do want to say, we recorded a podcast last week.
Yes.
And it was our mock draft and everything, but we had some technical difficulties. But here we are. The Patriots drafted. They stuck at number 15. They didn't trade up like a lot of rumors are saying, but they still got their man. They still got the quarterback. They got Mac Jones.
Yes, they did. And neither of us predicted them getting Mac Jones, I don't think. I think we were both looking more at Justin Fields, we thought was going to land there. Thought Mac Jones was actually going to get taken by San Francisco.
Yeah.
I think we both thought that, but of course that didn't happen on draft night. They took Trey Lance. But nice to see the Patriots not have to sacrifice anything, not have to trade up or anything to still get a quarterback. And how good is he? Only time will tell. We'll see.
Yeah. So, it's funny. For me, heading into the draft, like a few weeks, I didn't mind Mac Jones. I kind of liked Mac Jones. But then I started to I didn't sour on him, but then when I saw that Justin Fields was kind of sliding, that's when I saw that there was a chance the Patriots could get Justin Fields, possibly move up. Started falling in love with Justin Fields a little bit. So I started, one, kind of assuming that the 49ers would take Mac Jones, and two, started falling in love with Justin Fields a little bit and falling a little out of love with Mac Jones, because I did like Mac Jones. But then come draft night and come the rumors and everything, the 49ers did a great job hiding that they were going to take Trey Lance. Everybody started thinking that they were going to take Mac Jones. They hid the fact that they were going to take Trey Lance. They said that they knew all along they were taking Trey Lance. So they did a good job of hiding that.
They had me sold on the fact that they were going to take Mac Jones, because we saw a couple reports saying that I think Kyle Shanahan wanted Mac Jones, but some of the other people at the organization wanted Trey Lance. There was back and forth there.
Yep.
But they must have come to an agreement at some point and just kept it a good secret.
Yeah, they did. And I'm not going to argue with it. So
yeah,
I want to talk about me and you watched the draft together. You and I watched the draft together. And I want to talk about how we felt when it was happening. So I remember we started seeing that Justin Fields was sliding. And I think it got to, what pick was it? Number 11. It was number 11.
That's
number 11.
What it was, yeah.
And I started thinking, he's going to fall all the way to the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
And I also started thinking, all right, yeah, he might fall all the way to the Patriots, but I felt like they had to move up, because I was like, all right, there's a chance another team might move up and leapfrog them and get Justin Fields. And that's exactly what happened.
That's exactly
what happened. As soon as the Bears traded up to number 11, I knew it right there. And I got so upset about it.
Oops.
And
apologies.
No, you're fine. I got so upset about it. And then I started thinking, I was like, all right, now they better draft Mac Jones come pick 15. And that's what they did. So, like I said, at first I was a little upset. And then I started letting it sit. And I've been saying, I said this when I liked Mac Jones, and I thought they were going to take him originally, weeks ago, that Mac Jones, he was great in college. He was great last year at Alabama. But the big knock on him that everybody's been saying is that he, the only reason why he was good is because of the targets that he had.
Yeah,
he had
I hear that.
Jalen Waddle. He had Devonta Smith. He had what's his name at running back? The guy that got
Najee
drafted.
Harris.
Najee Harris, thank you. And the best offensive line in college football last year.
Yeah.
So that was the big knock on him, that he was only a product of the talent around him, which I think is valid. And so
It is valid.
I actually tweeted this weeks ago, maybe about a month ago now or something, that I think what they really need to do, the Patriots, is if you want to get the best out of him, get one more wide receiver, like an actual number one wide receiver, because they have some talent around him. They have a possible one of the best offensive lines in the league right now. From left to right on the offensive line is Isaiah Wynn, Michael Onwenu, David Andrews. I think Shaq Mason, I want to say, is their right guard, and then Trent Brown at right tackle. So that's a great offensive line.
Yeah,
so you
really
have
good.
that. You have a pretty good running back stable there. You got James White, Sony Michel, Damian Harris, and yeah, that's really it right now. They could possibly still bring back Rex Burkhead or something. So they have the running game to take the pressure off Mac Jones. The tight ends, 2 great targets at tight end, so possibly top pass catchers there. And
they're my favorite receivers on the team right now.
For sure.
Yeah.
And Derrick
Henry
and
Hunter Henry, right?
Hunter Henry. Why did I say Derrick Henry?
I don't know.
Hunter Henry and what's his name?
Jonnu Smith.
Jonnu Smith.
Yes.
Thank you. I was blanking on his name. And then their wide receivers are the top 2 wide receivers are Kendrick Bourne and Nelson Agholor.
Yeah.
And you see, I don't mind that pass catching group, those 4 guys, but I still think they need a number 1 wide receiver. Obviously, I would love for them to trade for Julio Jones, like the rumors are saying. That wouldn't happen until June 1st or later because of cap situations for the Falcons.
Yeah.
It's better for them cap wise. I don't know exactly why, but that wouldn't happen until then. But I would love like a Julio Jones, anybody. I just want them to trade for a wide receiver, a top wide receiver. It doesn't have to be like a best wide receiver in the league, but just a guy that you can argue is a number 1 wide receiver.
Yeah.
And that's a good group around him that could make him a good quarterback, and he could thrive in that situation, I think.
Right. If he has good targets in New England, just like he had at Alabama, then you could get the same product, basically, a pretty lethal Mac Jones. Obviously, he'll have some growing pains in his first couple of years, like I think all rookies do. Trevor Lawrence might not, but that's because he's Trevor Lawrence. We'll see. I'm just predicting that right now. But another thing that I think you told me about too is some receivers at Alabama were talking about how they thought Mac Jones was a better quarterback than, say, Tua.
Yeah.
During their time there, which I think is interesting because Tua, he wasn't too bad this past year in Miami. He started out great in his first 4 games. I think he had 7 touchdowns and 0 picks starting out. Really good as a rookie. He sort of faltered a little bit after that, fell off a little, but I thought Tua was good. And if Mac Jones is actually better than that, like they say he is, then this could be good for the Pats. I think they might have won here.
I agree. Now, do you think Mac Jones is the day 1 starter? I know you're not I know you don't really follow the Pats too much. You don't know what's going on there, but do you think that he's the day 1 starter right now?
I know that you and probably Pats Nation is not a fan of this, but I sense pretty much the Super Bowl, like the last day of the season. I've just had a feeling. I'm like, it's going to be Cam Newton again. It's going to be Cam Newton. I didn't even think they were going to get a quarterback in the draft at first. I thought they were just like, yep, we love Cam, we're going to roll with him. But obviously I think Mac will start at some point. Day 1, though, still going to be Mr. I run 100 yards instead of throw 100 yards, Cam Newton.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it's going to be Cam Newton to start off. It's right now his job to lose, but I think he will lose it. I think he's going to lose it this year.
Yep.
I'm assuming it's not going to be his job all year. I'm assuming that Mac Jones will take over at some point, but I think at the moment right now it's Cam Newton's job to lose.
Kind of tying it to Tua again, I think it'll be similar. Like Ryan Fitzpatrick, started 7 or 8 games, and then they replaced him with Tua. Obviously, Fitzpatrick actually played well, which I don't think Cam will play well at all, similar to last year. But something like that, midway through the year, maybe we could see some Mac Jones.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll see if we're right.
And I will say, though, when it comes to Cam Newton, I think he could have a better year this year. I hate to say that because it kind of worries me with him,
Yeah.
But I think he has a potential to have a better year this year.
He will have more talent around him, that's for sure.
He'll have more talent around him. He has the whole off-season programs to work with, so he'll have more time to get acclimated into the system. So I think he could do something this year for them. I don't know what it could be. I think it could be better. Plus, you don't have to worry about him having those COVID problems that he had assuming.
Yep.
I'm guessing. So I think he could have a better year. But I think this job. I think he might lose though middle of the year because I think Mac Jones has more potential. And Bill Belichick has said in the past about when it comes to rookie quarterbacks, there comes a point where you just have to throw them in the fire.
Yeah.
And whether that be this year or next year is yet to be seen. But there's going to be some point down the line where it's going to be he's just going to throw him in and see what happens, see if he sinks or swims.
Pretty much.
Now let's move on to the next draft pick. In the second round, the Patriots moved up to get arguably the best defensive tackle in the draft out of Alabama, Christian Barrymore, who is a very good defensive tackle, but he has some issues. He has some character issues.
Yeah.
I was reading that, I don't remember who said it. It was an article, I think on Nesson, talking about, like, I think it was a league executive at some other team was saying that they were way too worried about him because he's the type of player that you have to constantly be watching, making sure he's doing the things that he's supposed to. Not when it comes to football, meaning just like showing up to team meetings. He's just a lazy person, kind of.
Yeah, I hear that, and that is important. But obviously, he went to Alabama. He won the national championship there with them, helped them out. He's got the talent. I just hope he's not one of those players that wastes it, and is out of the league in a couple of years. I liked the pick by the Pats personally. They traded up, so they must be high on this guy, certainly. He is the strongest, one of the strongest defensive tackles in the draft, unless I'm missing someone that went in the first round.
No, I don't think any defensive tackles went in the first round, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right.
I know, like I said, he was rated on a lot of people's boards as the best defensive tackle in this draft. Mm-hmm. So he fell because of those character concerns.
Yeah.
Because another concern that people had about him was he was a little inconsistent here and there at Alabama because Nick Saban didn't constantly play him. That's the thing. He played, like, he would play in one game and then not as much the next game, something like that, similar to that.
Yeah.
That might be because of character issues,
probably
I don't know.
Punishment.
Or he just didn't fully trust him. I don't know what it was. But either way, that's definitely a high risk, high reward pick because, like I said, there is risk there with a player that you think might have character concerns, and other league GMs are saying that, I don't know. But here's the thing, though. Nick Saban was able to keep him in check for the most part, and Bill Belichick runs the same exact system because Nick Saban and Bill Belichick are friends. Nick Saban, I believe, was Belichick's offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator in Cleveland. So they run the same type of system. They run that hard nose, like we pay attention to the players, make sure that you're not stepping out of line. Mm-hmm. Besides, obviously, there's this issues that happens. I mean, namely Aaron Hernandez with the Patriots. But either way, I think
we won't talk about
I
that.
think if he is one of those players that kind of has a little wonky in the head, then what better place to go than Bill Belichick and New England Patriots?
True, they set him straight. Certainly,
they did,
or keep him in check. Just like Saban has.
Yeah.
Seemingly done pretty well so far.
And I will say, I think there was another scout or some people, I don't know who it was, that said that he has potential to be like Ndamukong Suh level good, that's exciting. That's exciting. I mean,
that's certainly the ceiling that we're looking at here.
Like I said, this is the definition of a high risk, high reward pick, that he might not pan out, he might not be able to screw his head on straight, but if he does, and Bill Belichick can get the best out of him, he could be a really, really good interior defensive lineman.
I agree. And I think both pick 1 and 2, Mac Jones and Barrymore, it's kind of the same concept.
Yeah.
High risk, high reward, obviously for different reasons, because I don't think Mac Jones has the same character issues by any means.
Yeah.
But, we'll see where this goes for the Pats, and I see more potential for upside than downside because it's Bill Belichick, it's the Patriots. They know they make superstars. They win rings. It's what they do. So I think these guys have bright future here than they might have with another team if they went to a different team. So
yeah, no, I completely couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Because again, with Barrymore and all that, like I said, it's the definition of a high risk, high reward pick. He is someone that could be really, really good, but also could couldn't pan out. But that's kind of the same with their third-round pick at number 96, Ronnie Perkins, defensive end out of Oklahoma. He's another kind of high-risk, high-reward type player because he's been suspended, and that was mostly for marijuana.
Yeah.
And the NFL doesn't really care about marijuana anymore, so there's that. And I think that's a great pick right there because he could be really good. I don't know his exact stats at Oklahoma, but he was really good. I mean, I'm looking at this right here on ESPN.com. He joins an edge group that has Matt Judon, Kyle Van Noy, Dietrich Wise, who's meh, Chase Winovich, who's still young and getting better, and Ferry Jennings, who I don't really know, Tayshaun Bauer, and Rashad Berry. He's above them. Yeah, it's as long as they kept Perkins off the field, and yeah. Essentially, I mean, he could be a really good player. He could be one of those next really good Bill Belichick defensive end draft picks because Belichick has had a history of drafting good defensive ends. I mean, look at Trey Flowers, I think it was.
Yeah.
Trey Flowers who was on the Lions now. There's obviously another one. Chandler Jones comes to mind as well. Those are two really good ones. Richard Seymour, I think, was a defensive end. I'm pretty sure Bill Belichick drafted Richard Seymour. Either way, still, Bill Belichick has usually been better drafting on the defensive side of the ball, specifically defensive end, than he has been offensive side of the ball. So I like this pick a lot because, like I said, don't have to really worry about him and the marijuana concerns because it's nothing that the NFL cares about.
Yeah. Through the first three picks, I think the Pats did a really good job, and even after that too. We'll talk about their fourth round pick in a minute here, but their first three picks, rounds 1 through 3, I think they got a player that slid a little further than maybe was anticipated each of those times. I think some of us predicted that some quarterback would slide down to 15, and it did happen. But yeah, for both Perkins and Barrymore. To slide as far as they did, the Pats to take him, be like, yes, sir, please, we'll take those players that probably should have already been off the board.
Exactly.
It's a perfect, smart move, I mean.
And it's very possible, I mean, ESPN is saying this, but I was thinking about this earlier too, is that the Patriots possibly could have went with something that's a little more of a pressing need in that pick, but they saw that this player, who they probably expected to be gone earlier, was still on the boards, and they were like, we can't pass up on him.
Yeah, and why not?
And
take the best available player.
Exactly. That's a smart move, I think.
Yeah.
Go with the best available player if you can. Mm-hmm. And then, let's move on now to their fourth round pick. Again, real quick. Overall, I like the Ronnie Perkins draft pick. High risk, high reward. Another reason why it's high risk is because he only played 6 games in 2020, so limited sample size to see how good he is. But he played pretty well in those 6 games.
Loves that though.
Yeah, and round 4, and I can guarantee what they're going to do with this. So real quick, they went Alabama the first 2 picks, and the Sooners their second 2 picks, which is funny. I think they're the second or third team to do that, since the modern era or something like that, and the first team to do it in a few years to pick 2 players from the same school 2 times in a row.
Yeah, well,
which is interesting.
They know the universities to pull from.
Yes, they do.
That's for sure.
I don't know how to pronounce his first name. Round 4,
Ramondre Stevenson.
Ramondre Stevenson, running back out of Oklahoma. Big body. He's 5'11", 227 pounds, big dude, which is interesting because they didn't pick up Sony Michel's 5th-year option. He is the running back of the future, not necessarily the future, but their next running back, probably once they don't sign Sony Michel or if they sign him, either way. But they're doing, most likely, he's probably going to redshirt. He's probably not going to play at all next year is my guess, because that's what they did with James White. That's what they did with Damian Harris, is they'll draft these guys in usually the 4th round. I mean, that's when they took James White, I think. Mm-hmm. James White was either 4th or 5th round. So they pick these players, these running backs, that they don't expect to play at first. It's usually something that they plan for the future. And what they'll do is they'll let them sit for the first year, either be on the practice squad, just be redshirt, take a spot on the team that they don't really play very much, and then once one of their running backs are gone the year after, that's when that player will play, and it's worked out pretty good. Look at Damian Harris. Damian Harris, his first season didn't play, and now last season he played really well.
He did. Yeah, that system has worked out pretty well so far, and Yeah, Stevenson certainly has that perfect running back build. He's looked good on the field for Oklahoma. Just a solid pick again by the Pats. My complaint, maybe I should get to this later on, but I think the one complaint, the thing that they should have gotten sooner than they did, was maybe a receiver, another receiver.
Yeah.
Of course, they're not going to get a top receiver at this point, but I would have loved to seen like a receiver get drafted by them before a running back.
That makes sense.
Just based on need.
Yeah.
But still, good pick. No complaints to this point.
No, I'm fine with it. And their next pick, here, round 5, 177 overall. This is probably one of my favorite picks. This one is certainly can be a high risk pick, but around round 5, you can afford to take risks like this. If they don't pan out, it's fine. So they took the linebacker out of Michigan, Cameron McGrone. And the Patriots the past few years have really loved drafting out of Michigan. They drafted Chase Winovich 2 years ago. I think it was either Josh Uche or Kyle Duggar. I don't remember which one. Uche out of Michigan. And now Cameron McGrone. So the thing is with Cameron McGrone, there's a very good chance he's not going to play at all this season because he suffered ACL injury in November, I believe it was.
That's right, yeah.
But before that ACL injury, he was one of their top linebackers. So if he didn't get that ACL injury, he's a player that could have went maybe round 1, round 2, a really good linebacker. So he's certainly an almost guaranteed redshirt, which kind of stinks. Yeah. And he has a lot of potential because you've seen already they did a great job drafting Chase Winovich and Josh Uche, and they've been pretty good for them. Chase Winovich wasn't great last season, but certainly wasn't bad, and can get better. Josh Uche, you saw he had a ton of potential, which I loved. Mm-hmm. So whenever he's healthy, he's fully healed up. Probably won't be until next year, the 2022-2023 season. He could be really good, especially with these other young linebackers that they have now. Throw him in there with Chase Winovich, Josh Uche, and Cameron McGrone. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's another one of these type of picks for the Pats. Like they took a similar approach to each pick all the way up to this point. Again, another guy that slipped down the draft board due to circumstances. Each player that they drafted, it seems, had their own different set of circumstances that made them a big name that the Pats kind of stole, later on. Obviously, the concern is when you have all like high-risk players, you got to imagine at least like 1 or 2 of the guys we've talked about so far is going to end up being nothing.
Sure.
And, out of the league wasted pick. But there's definitely going to be 1 or 2 of them at the very least that shine. And it was just a great pick by the Pats. Hopefully McGrone is one of those guys. I mean, Winovich, he's a name that I've gotten to know over the past year based on his performance. Not great, but notable at least.
Yeah. So that's really all I have to say about McGrone. And then the last 3 picks for the Patriots in round 6, they drafted a safety, Joshua Bledsoe, out of Missouri. Don't necessarily need a safety, but you never know. He might not even make the team. You're in the picks right now that they might not even make the team. Round 6, an offensive lineman out of Colorado, William Sherman. I mean, Patriots have had some luck drafting offensive linemen later in the draft and making the team, so he could possibly get in there. Who knows? And then the last pick of the draft was their 7th round pick, number 242, Trey Nixon, wide receiver out of UCF. Mm-hmm. He could be good. I don't know. Also might not like the team.
Yep. Finally, they took a wide receiver, but
I know, seriously.
Nah.
I will say 2 things though. So after the draft, the Patriots haven't signed any undrafted free agents, which is crazy. The Patriots always sign multiple undrafted free agents. They're one of the preferred destinations for a lot of undrafted free agents because the Patriots have had an undrafted free agent make the team, I think, 15 years in a row or something like that. So, but it's crazy that they haven't. I think a big reason why is because the draft pool has been a lot smaller this year than past years. I think there's only if I'm not mistaken, 600 and something players in the draft pool this year. That's including players that went undrafted, obviously. Mm-hmm. And in a normal year, it's 1,800 or something like that, or around that area. So there's a lot smaller pool, And so that means that a lot of the players that aren't drafted aren't going to be as good as they would be in a normal year. So that's probably why. But I do want to say real quick that last pick, Trey Nixon, that pick was actually made by Ernie Adams, the Patriots' long time. Like, I think he's the head of scouting or something like that. He is an absolute legend. He's one of those like hidden figures in New England that not everybody really talks about, but he is a huge reason for the success. He's been a part of almost the whole Patriots organization. Bill Belichick praised him. He's retiring, and he made that official last pick to Trey Nixon. So can't go wrong with it. He drafted a bunch of crazy players. I think he was the one who chose the linebacker from the Giants years ago. I'm blanking on his name. I'm blanking. He's the best. He's one of the best linebackers of all time. But yeah, Ernie Adams, absolute legend. We have about only a couple minutes left here. Let's touch on real quick to finish this off the Celtics for the last few minutes. Celtics. That's actually why I'm in the jersey in the robe of shame. We didn't post anything this week because we've been kind of busy. We both got jobs, and we totally forgot to post about our bet of the week. But we did have bet of the week. It was Celtics Blazers.
Yes,
I bet Celtics. Matt bet Blazers. I lost. I'm back in the robe of shame. Matt's out of the robe of shame for the first time in 2 weeks.
First time you've worn the robe in the new studio.
I know, it is the first time.
Yeah, to talk about the Celtics too. I think you know where I'm going with this right away. The one very notable thing that happened this past week in Celtics history.
Yeah.
Jason Tatum dropping 60 on him.
Yeah,
how about that?
Tied Larry Bird for franchise record. Crazy. It's awesome. But the big problem with the Celtics that we talked about in the past, and actually I talked about it last week. I talked about it last week, but obviously, like I said, technical difficulties. They can't get healthy. I think that's a big reason why they're not winning, and I can't fully count on them to get healthy. And even if they get healthy in time of the playoffs, I don't count that they'll stay healthy. So I think there's a big chance that if they do make the playoffs, they can still get bounced early because they can't stay healthy. And it's just hard to find consistency when you can't stay healthy. And I'm not convinced that. I mean, as soon as a team seems like they're getting healthy, another player gets injured or is in COVID protocol or something. It's just they can't find consistency. And I'm not super high on the Celtics. I mean, maybe they go on a few win streaks, maybe they win the first round, but I don't think they're going very far.
Yeah, not to badmouth too much because we love our Celtics. You know, I think even if everyone was healthy, they would still get bounced. I mean, just. The net. I mean, this is later in the playoffs. We're talking about the Nets, the Bucks, the Sixers are all just purely better. It's just not. It's not the year for the Celtics. I don't think it'd be a surprise if they make it to the conference finals and then the finals themselves. That'd be wildly awesome if they could do that, but highly doubt it. And guys like Kemba's injured right now. He's been out for a couple weeks. Fournier was out for a bit. And who was it? I think Robert Williams was out for a bit.
Yeah,
too,
Robert Williams was out for a while.
Yeah, and Brown and Tatum will take a game off here and there for various reasons. So, getting them all on the floor at the same time. Marcus Smart, too. Forgot about him.
Yep.
It's a challenge, and we haven't seen it in a while. And I don't think it'll happen in the playoffs more than a game or two, personally.
I do want to say there are only 7 games left in the season for the Celtics. We're recording this on Wednesday, so technically by the time that you guys listen to this, there'll only be 6 games left in the season. So we're heading down the playoff stretch. And a team that's actually looking better, real quick, these last 50 seconds, I want to mention the Bruins. The Bruins have four. Yeah, the Bruins have 4 games left: 2 against the Rangers, 1 against Islanders, 1 against the Capitals. Bruins right now are in the 3rd seed in the East. They're only 2 points behind the Capitals and 4 points behind the Penguins, so they could possibly make a push here in the last few games, especially with one of the games against the Capitals.
Let's toss it to our producer, Tim. How you feeling about them?
And I'm loving seeing what Taylor Hall is doing. Timmy, Wags, what do you think about the Bruins?
Give me 1 second to get this mic situated.
Of course. We're gonna give him 1 second. We're gonna give him 1 second. He's got us. No,
he's got the Bruins knowledge on it.
He does. There he is.
Speaking on the Bruins, the acquisition of Taylor Hall, I think it's just been an absolute fire in just under them because they got the depth that they were really looking for with scoring because Charlie Coyle, he's coming back. He had that amazing goal. Smith got a hat trick. and we have Taylor Hall and David Krejci out here looking like the two stepbrothers playing at the Catalina wine mixer. Just everything going together,
They do.
nothing wrong. Just they anticipate each other's movements. Like David Krejci hit a double toe drag and then just tossed it over to Hall and he finished it. And if you looked on it, if you looked at the camera when he was celebrating, he had the biggest smile on his face. I don't think I saw him smile once in Buffalo. Yeah. And I mean, like, it's a hot take, but like, I think that this shows that Buffalo, the organization, is where the issues are.
I agree.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
Lots of upside for the Bruins now.
Ton of upside for the Bruins. It's been fun watching them. Obviously, they lost in overtime yesterday, 2 days ago when you guys listened to this against the Devils.
Yep.
Which kind of stings, but hey, they need to finish out strong. I really want to see them win these last 4 games. Knock on wood.
Make a push.
Make that final push heading into the playoffs. They're looking really good heading into the playoffs. I'm loving what I'm seeing out of them right now. I hope they can keep it up. Like we said, like Weg said, they're playing great team hockey. Taylor Hall's playing for the team. Everybody's playing for the team. I think it's huge that second line is finally playing well because as we talked about multiple times, this team, one of their biggest downfalls is their secondary scoring. They have that now. They have goal scorers on the rest of the team, not just the first line. They have goal scorers now on that second line, which is great. They're starting to pick it up, and this is a cup or bust season for them. If they don't win the cup this season, I'm going to be extremely disappointed. Last season was a little different because the shortened COVID season, and the shortened COVID season I think kind of screwed them up a little bit, having those few months off. But they're firing on all cylinders. I think they can do it. I hope they can do it. Who knows? We'll see. But we're going to thank you guys so much for joining us, as always, this week. Keep listening to us. We are going to, in about 3 weeks, we are going to take a little bit of a hiatus. Both Matt and I, big news, we both got jobs. So we're probably going to have to take a few weeks off for that while we get situated. But at some point, hopefully in June or July, we will be back after these next few weeks. But just stay tuned. Thank you all again so much for joining us. We'll see you next time on the Sports Degenerates Podcast.